opponent plays a card, we both get chances to respond to what they're doing. One of the best things Hex does to reduce variance in a really elegant way that Magic just never could is that the opening hands in Hex aren't completely random. Hex uses a modified hypergeometric distribution to kind of modify the potential opening hands that the game can generate for you, and it removes the 10% most resource light hands and 5% most resource dense hands from the game. So basically everyone mulligans 15% less in Hex than you would in a game like Magic, where your opening hands are just completely random. One of the other things you'll notice in Hex that's really good if you're playing an interactive deck, even aggressive decks too can benefit from it. You'll notice my opponent and I have different portraits. These aren't just cosmetic, they have different impacts on the game. So you'll notice here that we have different starting health totals. So I start with 23 health and my opponent starts with 21 health. What these champions do, in addition to determining your starting health totals, they each have what's called a champion power that allow you to do stuff at different points in the game depending on things that you've done. So my opponent's champion power says for 4 charges, basically when they played 4 resources, they get to return a troop with cost 2 or less from their discard pile to their hand. And my champion power says for 7 charges, so it's a little bit more expensive, it creates a constant called a Burning Banner that gives my troops +1 power and speed. Yes, it's similar to a hero power in Hearthstone, but I believe the hero powers in Hearthstone, do they have the same cost or are they varying? Also, your champion doesn't dictate which cards you're allowed to play in your deck. So I can play any selection of standard legal Hex cards in my deck, in my standard deck that has Haraza. My champion does dictate what colors have to be in my deck. But, for instance, I could pair this Ruby banner with... I could pair my Ruby champion with Sapphire cards like I have here. In other decks, you could pair them with Blood cards or Wild cards, etc. All right, Well of Innovation was a great draw here because it lets me hit my second threshold here. So I'm going to go ahead and grab my Sapphire threshold here, which unlocks my Stifling Sting. So this card costs 3 resources total, and it says I have to play a Ruby or a Sapphire to play it out. It deals 3 damage to a champion or troop. And if I deal damage to my opponent with this card, I get to interrupt any actions they have on the chain. That being said, I do want to just use this as a piece of removal to kill their thing. Combat in Hex is similar to Magic. The active player declares attackers, the defending player declares blockers. Let's me go ahead and get in with my Emsee here, which is a 2/2 that deals double damage. My Emsee also generates card advantage for me, so every time this diligences, which I believe the Magic term is inspire, so when this readies or untaps, it grabs another socketed card out of my deck and puts it directly into my hand. So if my opponent can't kill this Emsee here, I'm going to draw an extra card on my next turn. Sweet, doesn't look like they can kill it, so I'm going to draw 1 guaranteed socketed card and then a random card off the top of my deck. And I didn't draw another resource this turn. I think I'm just going to run back the play I did last turn, which is go ahead and shoot my opponent's thing and attack them with my Emsee again. Yeah, Stifling Sting's a sweet design. I like this. It's like everything a tempo deck wants to do, right? It can like protect my threats by countering their actions, or it can like clear blockers out of the way. My opponent and I are actually both playing socket styles decks. So socketed cards in Hex are customizable cards. So my opponent will likely has this card Emsee in their deck, but I have a Ruby customization in it that gives it double damage. My opponent likely has Blood or Diamond customizations in their Emsee because those are the colors that their deck has. So even though we're both playing the same card, our cards have different effects. This is Hex's standard constructed format. Hex's ladder that's free to play on is standard constructed. Love to draw a resource here. Animus will do, though. Animus is a super powerful card that's very synergistic with the cards that I have. So this says whenever I play a socketed card, all of my socketed cards in all zones get +1/+1 permanently. So when I play out this Warpsteel Shardsworn, you're going to see this light up and trigger. And now all of these cards in my hand get bigger. And every time I play a socketed card, all of my other socketed cards are going to get bigger. So I play this Quenchinator, all my stuff gets bigger. When I play this Caller, all my stuff gets bigger. So I mentioned you gain charges when you play resources in this game. There's also other things in this game that can give you charges. So like this card says, when it comes into play, I gain charges equal to its power. So even though I'm playing a high charge cost champion, Quenchinator can accelerate me into my champion activation. So my opponent I actually have these Altars of Nulzann in my deck too. This says, once per turn when you play a socketed card, you draw a card. So when my opponent played this, they got to draw a bunch of cards here. But so while my opponent's generating a lot of card advantage here, my guys are just going to kind of beat them down. Ooh. They have an Animus of their own though. If they have another card to play out, their troops are going to get bigger. Yep, and here's their Emsee. And you can see this Emsee has Flight and Swift Strike, unlike mine, which had double damage. This is the Sapphire Ruby Sockets deck. Alright, so I'm going to play Quenchinator, which is going to trigger my thing. And let this come into play, which is going to let me activate my banner here. And then I can go ahead and play out this Heartsworn Caller, which triggers my Animus and makes all my troops larger again. And now my Burning Banner gives them all speed. So I guess I'm going to get in here now, right? I'm attacking with at least all of these. These cards have Swift Strike. So if I attack with this, my opponent can cut this down for free, and this one can cut this down for free, but then they're obligated to block these other troops. Yeah, I think I'm okay. If they want to cut these down for free and just, like, take a large hit from the rest of these, I don't want this one to die because it makes all my troops cheaper. I don't know if it's the best Sockets deck. It's the one I've been enjoying playing the most. So yeah, so my opponent can Swift Strike block here for free, Swift Strike block here for free, but I've got 21 power coming across on the rest of these, so that means these two would have to chump block. But I think I'm okay if they want to chump block and kill their Animus here. And like next turn, assuming my opponent can't interact with my Sentry or Burning Banner, I get to play some more aggressive troops here and just continue pressuring my opponent. You also get to say Quenchinator, right? Opponent trying to figure out again, going through their permutations of blockers. And I think they're going to realize, like I did, that all of their permutations of blockers are pretty bad for them. Yeah, you're right. I could have netted one more charge there, I suppose. So my opponent's stacking their Swift Strike cards up to kill my Animus, which is an interesting line. So, like, basically I can't power up the rest of my board anymore. So getting one more charge is, like, probably won't matter. This game's probably going to be over before I can activate my banner again. This Runebind here is a really powerful, flexible tempo card. So this card is a quick action, and it takes any card on the chain or in play and transforms it into a mysterious rune, which is basically just an enchantment that sits off to the side until my opponent draws a resource. Alright, so they add another thing to the board here. Okay, there's an Animus. They have one other thing to play out here. If they have another socketed card, I don't think they have any one-cost socketed cards. Hopefully this Emsee plus this Heartsworn Caller beating down with speed next turn, plus this Runebind to get a blocker out of the way should be more than lethal. I'm going to have 5 very scary attackers, and then I'm going to take a... Actually, this Quenchinator... Is that better? No, I think I'd rather just play more attackers outright. Like, do this. Do this. This is probably even lethal without the Runebind. Yep. Another thing that's great about Hex is that, and this is similar to Magic and different from other digital TCGs, is that in a lot of these digital card games, there's a big focus on fast games as opposed to quality games, and Hex lets you, their constructed ladder is best 2 out of 3. So, you know, if you get a little bit unlucky in one match, you get to play that next game against your opponent in order to try and level out the playing field here. I don't think I want to change a ton post-board in this matchup. think I want to trim like a Dark Heart and Altar of Nulzann. I feel like this matchup isn't really about generating card advantage like these cards do, and I'm going to bring in a couple copies of Return to Cinder that deal 2 damage to something and then void it. Ruby's favor is like not great in this matchup. It can make them sacrifice an artifact, but they just have so many artifacts. The fact that they get to pick which one they're getting rid of is not good for us. So I think I'm just going to cut a couple of clunkier cards and bring in. So I'm going to cut a 3rd Altar and bring in a 3rd Return to Cinder. Just, again, be a little bit more responsive on the draw, so my opponent can't run us over, hopefully. So we're going to be on the draw for this game. So opponent was able to draw a lot of cards last game, but again, thanks to our Burning Ban, we were able to just pressure them out of that game. It's a little slow. You might see this. So these resources say 0-1, and what this means is they don't make a temporary resource the turn we play them. So you can refer to them as slow shards, or they kind of are reminiscent of coming to play tapped lands. Basically can't use them right away. So I played an Ice last game. I didn't talk about how powerful this mechanic is. These Ice do what's called Fate Weave. So basically I get to stack my deck here, and I get to guarantee the top card of my deck next turn is either a resource or a non-resource. I think I'm going to stack a resource on top of my deck, so that way hopefully I can hit another non-slow shard and play a 2-drop on 2 and this Animus on 3. Is ideally how I would like to curve out here. You have a Sentry to make their socketed cards cheaper. See if they have an Emsee here. Yep. Emsee is pretty good. Let's go ahead and play this. Play Emsee or Heartsworn. I've really only played against Momentum, Mill, and Candle. I mean, well, you can see here, neither my opponents and I, neither of us are playing either of those cards. We're both playing socket-themed decks, but we're different socket decks. Like, neither of us have any of the same thresholds that the other one does. Yes, you can stack multiple Fate Weaves. So, assuming you don't re-Fate Weave the same card. So, like, if you Fate Weave a resource twice, you will very likely have 2 resources stacked on top of your deck, but there's a small possibility that you Fate Weave the same resource to the top again, because it picks a random resource in your deck to move to the top. Return to Cinder was an excellent draw here, so I can go ahead and use this to shoot their Emsee. That's going to go ahead and void that, so they're not going to get to diligence it and draw a card. An attack with my Emsee here. Yeah, Hex does not shuffle. Think I want to run the Gambit and Runebind their Animus of Nulzann. Animus of Nulzann is just so powerful. If they get even a single trigger off of it, I'm going to be kind of in a bad way. So if my opponent doesn't draw a resource here, will be great. Sweet. So this stays as a mysterious rune until my opponent has a resource enter their hand. So hopefully they're not going to draw a shard for a turn or 2 here. They immediately drew a resource after that. That's fine. They missed a trigger on this one at least. There's no draw step in Hex. So Hex removed a couple of those kind of clunky, more unintuitive things that Magic does. Like the draw step, and they wrap up a couple of things that do automatically. So there's no pause in between when Hex, when you draw a card and when my opponent has priority to play things during their first main phase. That being said, they're going to get triggers on their Animus next turn, but I drew a second Animus. So that means if they don't remove this one, next turn I'm going to go second Animus into this. Okay, they also have 2 Animuses. So both of our boards are about to get very large. Whoa, that's a 3rd one. Alright, I'm probably dead to 3 Animuses here, unless I hit like a Runebind or something. Yep. So my opponent's Animuses, mine are socketed, so they just have -1 cost at all times. My opponent's Animuses have what's called the Miracle Gem in it, so the turn they draw this, it gets or it's Hope Gem, I think. It gets -2 cost the turn they draw it, so they drew that one last turn, able to make it much, much cheaper. Get this out. Play this Heartsworn Caller. That being said, if my opponent has any more socketed cards they can play out, we're going to be in trouble in a big way, because every socketed card they play gets all their cards +3/+3. So I think we're just, please don't have a socketed card, and if they do, we're going to be moving to a game 3 here. Right? That's not a sock. Oh, they guaranteed a socketed card because of Emsee. Guaranteed a socketed card from the Emsee. All right. Yeah, just gonna submit. Triple Animus. A little bit tough. All right, to be on the play here. Yeah, I agree. There should probably be some triple shadows on the board. My Ruby's favors should be some shadows. Hey, Maester with the brand new Twitch Prime support. Thank you, and welcome. I really appreciate that. I've not played against the Blood Hate card just yet. So you'll see here on my side of the board here, this is one of the reasons why I really like this configuration. With the Animus having the -1 cost gem in it, we can actually turn 2 Animus in this deck off of Sentry. Yeah, I should have some Arcing Rust in my sideboard. I agree. Well, I really do appreciate you choosing to use your Amazon Fun money here. Subscriptions are the best way you can support my content. We are just 8 new subscribers away from picking up a new emote. Heading in that direction. We have a Stifling Sting here to kill my opponent's first play. If we run off a socketed card or 2 to trigger our Animus, we're going to be in a great spot. Socketed card, please. That's unfortunate. Think I just have to kill this, and I'm going to start attacking. From a pure game design standpoint, just like mechanics to mechanics, I prefer Hex in its current form to Magic in its current form. I haven't loved Magic's last few standard formats, and standard's really like the format I enjoy most in TCGs. It's the type of format that like changes and evolves as you play, which keeps it interesting and fresh from a deck building perspective. Yeah, I think we're going to get some kind of all-in, either explicitly a Charbelcher emote or something that's referencing all-in combo decks. Ugh, another non-socketed card. That's a tilt. Thankfully, this Ruby Ice is going to Fate Weave and let me guarantee I get a non-resource on top of my deck here. But this Emsee plus their Altar might be enough to bury me at this point. Maybe I'm just supposed to Runebind this, actually. Yeah, I'm just going to Runebind this so they don't get to draw a socketed card deck. There's probably a resource on top of their deck. There wasn't. Okay, sweet. Yes, wait, Scions would be my first recommended update for Candles. Now they have an Animus of their own. I think we're just going to be too little too late here. Not nearly enough Psychic Ascensions around here. Krail with the 3-month subscription, a quarter every year. Welcome back. I do appreciate it. All right, let's try another match here, shall we? I'm going to put a couple Arcing Rusts in my board for these Socket Spears. Yep. There isn't a competitive combo deck in Standard every single season. I'd say probably half the seasons have a competitive-ish combo deck. Last season, probably the best deck in the format was a combo deck. Hex's Immortal format has a variety. That Immortal is their non-rotating format. Has a variety of combo decks that are legal in it, that are competitive. Hey, that one Lundy with the brand new Twitch Prime support. Thank you, and welcome. I really do appreciate it. Yeah, there's a couple of combo decks that people are poking with in this current standard format, but I don't know if any of them I would consider, like, super competitive, right? Like, they're tier 2 at best, most likely. For those that are newer to Hex 2, Hex just had a standard rotation, so when Set 8 released 2 or 3 weeks ago at this point, their oldest 2 sets rotate out, so we're still kind of like fumbling around trying to find what are the optimal decks for this season. We've only had 2 cash tournaments. Hex has $1,000 cash tournaments every single weekend, so we've only had 2 of those. So the format's still kind of shaping and developing as these new cards filter in, and like old cards that weren't playable before could come in some more. Yeah, momentum's kind of like combo aggro, right? I guess that's definitely a fair assessment. All right, I have an altar of my own. Bishop Elijah. It's the same person we played against, or a different username. I didn't catch the username before. I feel like we queued too quickly to get the same person, but I'm not sure. I like the boat battle board. Someone remind me to change the battle board while we're reserving those so I can show that off. How often? So hexsets.com explains the rotation if you want it written down somewhere, but I can give a brief overview. So Hex releases a new set every 4.5 to 5 months. Whenever an even numbered set releases, there's different player, different deck. Whenever an even numbered set releases, the oldest 2 sets rotate out of the standard format. So when Hex's 10th set releases will be their next rotation. So when set 10 releases about 9 to 10 months from now, sets 5 and 6 will rotate out. So my opponent is playing a deck that's likely based around the momentum mechanic. So this is a 0-1, and momentum says whenever they play a resource, this gets +1 power for 1 power and defense for a full turn cycle, and then the momentum goes up by 1. So the second resource will make it get 2-2, the third resource makes it get 3-3, and slowly these troops just scale up. That being said, my hand is very, very good this game. We're going to get to go Altar into Emsee next turn. And Altar says whenever I play my socketed card for the first time each turn, I get to draw a card. So now all of these cards are going to start drawing me cards, and they're going to trigger my Animus. Emsee is going to draw me a card, trigger this. Now my Animus, do I want to attack in with my Animus? Yeah, I probably want to just race, right? Get in here with my 4-4. They have a 1-2 and a 2-1, so they can't even double block to kill it. And then next turn, I can play at least 2 things to give all my guys +2/+2. Use the word slowly when describing momentum. Jin with the 14-month resubscription. Thank you, and welcome back. Ooh, Ruby Diamond momentum. Interesting. Hey, Taurus. Morning, afternoon. This is probably going to be my last match of the morning. I have some writing that I have to get done. So let's start with this Heartsworn Caller, which triggers my Animus and draws a card. Sweet. So these ones aren't going to draw cards when I play them out, because they're not the first one I've played for the turn, but they are going to trigger my Animus. So you can see my Animus just like making my board get completely out of control here. Opponent's just going to pack it in. My board is way too dominating. It looks like my opponent's playing a small troop deck, just a lot of 1s and 2 drops potentially, so I'm going to board in all of these return to Cinders, and again, just like trim some of my things that generate a little bit more card advantage, so I probably don't need that against another aggressive deck. Oh, battle board. Oh, yeah, thank you, Jin. Look at that. So, battle boards change the play field. So what do we want to do? We were on a boat last time. Into the jungle, baby. You can pick different sleeves, too. Some of the sleeves are animated. Like this one. Yeah, let's do that one. Yeah, there are five different shard types in Hex. 5 different thresholds. We'll see here. If my opponent has a battle board of their own, we won't go to the jungle board immediately, because their battle board, it takes place, so your opponent sees your sweet battle board as well. And if you both have sweet battle boards, it randomly selects, I believe, and then rotates back and forth. But if my opponent does not have a sweet battle board, it will use mine. Sweet. Because I do not have one, so we play on my jungle board now. Welcome to the jungle, baby. Welcome to the jungle. Boop, doo, 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 doo. This hand's not super aggressive, but like it has Return to Cinder into a Stifling Sting, so I think that's fine to keep. If you're interested in giving Hex a try, I have a list of budget Hex decks here, so you can start playing without spending too much money. I actually have a variation of this deck on there that it's about $35, $40 to build outright. There's also cheaper decks on there, like there's a Ruby Diamond Candles aggressive deck that's about $15 to build. And Hex's Ladder is completely free to play on, so once you have a constructed deck, you can play as much as you want. Hey, Homegrown 101 with the Twitch Prime subscription. Thank you, and welcome. I really appreciate that. Subs are the absolute best way you could support my content here. So welcome. This card's really scary. This is a 2/1 with speed that on Diligence, it either makes a Valor power-up or it transforms into a different card that can shoot down one of my troops. So I'm just going to go ahead and return this to Cinder now. Just get him on out of there. And Return to Cinder voids my opponent's card. Hey, Kevin from Up 4 with the 2-month resubscription. Thank you, and welcome back. I do appreciate it. I think the non-budget Candles deck is arguably tier 1, but again, the format's still kind of new, so I wouldn't be entirely upset if like that ended up just being like tier 2, but again, we don't 100% know. Yeah, that's definitely true too. A lot of the cards like commons and uncommons, so in Hex you keep the cards that you draft and like play in sealed and limited, so there's a lot of new players that will just like give you commons and uncommons that they have extra if you ask around in in-game chat or in my subs Discord or other Hex channels. Because like Magic, they're not worth a ton, so you might as well. You have a list of non-budget decks if I'd be interested to invest in. So you can just take a flip back at my YouTube channel and all of the deck lists, just like my Magic decks. I post the full deck list in the video description for the YouTube channel. Once the format shakes out a little bit more, probably after this weekend's 1Ks, once we've had a little bit of data on hexprimal.com, who's actually my sponsor. So Hex Primal buys and sells TCG cards. So if you're going to buy cards from them, you use code Jeff5 to save 5% on your orders. They're also supporting my stream a little bit. They keep a standard deck list guide on there that I update every season once we have a little bit of information. So probably I'll start working on it this week so we can get that updated so people that want non-budget deck lists have a place to go to find those very easily. Blaze of Glory deals X damage to target troop, and if it would die, void it, and has life drain. So they're going to kill my dork and gain 3. Attack me for 4 here. So I'm only 1 charge away from my champion power, so I'm actually going to get to Riftwarp. Actually, I'm going to get to Emsee and get in here, right? Perfect. I drew another 2-drop. That's awesome. So I get to Burning Banner here, which gives my troops +1 in speed, and Emsee plus Heartsworn Caller here. There was a hiccup of some sort with the Bash API this week, the Bash and Clash API that Fred is waiting for them to for Hexen to sort out. Will there ever be a Sapphire Wild Transform deck? It's on my list of things to try, but my gut says the random mechanics in Hex like that generally aren't very good in the competitive sense, so I'd be surprised there's a tier 1 transform deck. There's probably something that you can poke around at that's like kind of competitive, but I'd be surprised if it's tier 1. Yeah, the game's a lot of fun. It's definitely 10 out of 10 my favorite card game currently. Bring to Justice, so they're voiding my troop, which is unfortunate because that's the one that generates card advantage for me. See if they're going to attack here. They're going to hold this back on defense. That's probably smart. The Riftwarp Badger comes into play, and he makes me a socketed troop and a... Actions your hand get when you play this, copy it this turn. Alright, well I guess I'm going to hold this Return to Cinder. I guess I could smash into here. I want to just smash in, so when this dies, it makes my opponent 2 1/1 flyers, but like, I'm going to get to hit them for 4 here. Yeah, I'm just going to smash. What would I replace in the budget candles list for Light the Votives or Scion? The first cut, I believe, would be the Innate of Wax, would be my first cut. if you look on my YouTube channel too, I have a couple of non-budget candle deck videos posted. I could Cinder it just to get rid of it, but like I really don't care about these 1/1s, I don't think. I guess they're kind of annoying against my Warpsteel. Heart of Embers is very good. So this card creates a Valor power-up for them, and then whenever they play a Valor power-up, they get to shoot something. So they're going to do this here and then shoot my thing. Fortunate. It's very possible I should have just Cindered the Ardent Crusader so they didn't get these 1/1s, but I don't know. I feel like we're still in an okay spot here. I play this Warpsteel out, which makes a friend with the Burning Banner. I'm going to attack my opponent for 5 here. And then they block here. I could use Return to Cinder to finish this off. Yellow Hat with the host. Welcome to folks to be over from Nassif's channel. We're hanging out, playing a couple. That's aggressive. Oh, I wonder if they have another. They have another Heart of Embers. This could be really bad for me. That being said, paired power is going to make my Stifling Sting kill them next turn, so I've got that going for me. I don't have anything in here that makes Valors, right? Nope. Huh. Exalted Knight. Okay. This is a 4/3 with speed. A Righteous Outlaw. Okay, they're just dead to my paired power. So, paired power says actions in your hand get, when you play this, copy it until end of turn. And Stifling Sting does 3 damage to my opponent, and I have 6 resources. So I'm going to get to paired power and play Stifling Sting with copy and just 6 my opponent upstairs. No, Cinder does not hit the opponent. It's only troops. Yeah, Stifling Sting. Oh my god! It'll just counter itself. I'm so dumb. I'm so dumb. Alright, so for those that don't understand what just happened there, I didn't think about it. So this, when it resolves because it's targeting a player, it interrupts all other actions on the chain that deal 3 damage, that cost 3 or less. So the copied Sting interrupted the original Sting. That's hilarious. Change boards one more time. I didn't think about it. Just like, alright, yep. Alright, take 2. That's, whoops. We're playing a combo deck, yep. It's a combo. Whoopsie. What do you think are the best standard decks in Hex right now? I think if you put a gun to my head and made me pick the top 3, I would say Diamond Wild Momentum aggro, Diamond Ruby Candle aggro, and then the Sapphire Diamond control deck that Ali won the bash with this past weekend. I think those are the 3 best. I think there's probably a good blood deck in there somewhere, but I haven't seen a specific blood configuration that I'm in love with. I think it's okay. Emsee on turn 2 on the play. Okay, this is actually pretty good, because it means I'll likely be able to clear out whatever their blocker is on turn 2 for my Emsee to attack in and start generating card advantage. Just another whack shot. Okay. If they double block next turn, this Stifling Sting is going to blow them out. Gobble up both their guys. Both their gals. So my opponent, and this attack looks kind of innocuous, right? Because like if my opponent double blocks, I just trade 2 for 1 here. Heartsworn Caller out. So my opponent doesn't have removal next turn. This Emsee will draw us an extra card. Emsee is gemmed with double damage. This shard combination doesn't have stellar gems for Emsee, unfortunately, but is what it is. So their momentum troops building up here. They're now 2/3s. See if they have a Bring to Justice or a Decree of Banishing to take my Emsee out here. I suppose it's possible I should have just passed with Stifling Sting up, since they showed us Decree of Banishing last game, and, like, protected it. Yeah, I could have. Maybe I should have just passed with this. Maybe I should have just passed with this up. I think it's possible that was a mistake. I'm going to offer this trade here. Would you like to trade, opponent? Yep. And this doesn't surprise me too much. They have their champion power pretty close to active, so... Animus out. Yeah, maybe I should have protected... I would have felt really bad if they just, like, untapped and played Decree of Banishing, but, like, they showed us Bring to Justice in game 2. Got opponent. If they don't have removal for this, this Animus gets out of control very quickly. Not a Decree of Banishing. Yep, okay. Great. This gives one of their other troops momentum 1. Yep. Play this. So this card says whenever I play a card, the rest of my non-resource cards in my hand cost +2. So I'm going to just play this out so I can hold Stifling Sting up on their turn since it's a quick action. I'm going to go and attack with this Animus. I feel like we're in an okay spot so far. They have a little bit of momentum going. If I brick on a socketed card next turn, I could be in a little bit of trouble. If I hit a socketed card, though, I feel like we're going to be in a pretty good spot. Trigger this Animus again. The opponent stacked a couple Fate Weaves up. Wonder how aggressive they want to be here. That's pretty aggressive. Alright. Yep, I should take this hit. Go ahead and sting this Dorko. That blocker out of the way. Pocketed card? Source. That's unfortunate. Guess I'm playing this. Am I just passing at this point? I think I'm just passing. Not been a good showing for the Sockets deck. They have momentum 6 now. 5. So big. So very large. Sentry's hopping in the way of this bus. I think I just want to keep both of these for now. I'm trying to think like what our outs are at this point. I guess drawing a Dark Heart would be pretty good. resource is not going to do it. They probably have a resource on top of their deck from their Fate Weaves, so... His deck we're playing is pretty aggressive. It's just not aggressive 7 resources later. Our deck doesn't have momentum troops in it, so we can't really leverage advantage from hitting all these resource drops like our opponent's been able to. I'm just going to throw this under a bus. Take... Oh, that's lethal if I do that. And let the record reflect that we post videos even when I get dumpstered. Alright, at any rate, folks, I'm going to go ahead and sign off for the day. I will be back tomorrow morning. Remember, if you enjoy Hex CCG, Wednesday mornings is all Hex all morning. For one of my Magic players that stuck out through the end, we'll be back with more magical digital cardboard on Thursday morning. I will catch all around later. Thanks for watching.